After having to settle for a 40-40 tie last night in Dallas, the week should be good for a beat-up offensive line that was down 3 key players in last night's game. Special teams also have a chance to regroup after costing the team a potential win in Cleveland last week and then getting another kick block last night and giving up a long kick return late in the game. The team will return for the bye the following Sunday against Cincinnati. Turning to Wisconsin, they're getting ready for a trip to number 20 Michigan on Saturday. Badgers coming off back-to-back double-digit losses. The status of starting quarterback Billy Edwards Jr. remains in question. He returned against Maryland, but lasted just 6 plays before re-injuring his knee. Coach Luke Fickell admitted today that he should not have played in that game.
I said to you guys several times that we'd have to save him from himself. And in some ways, that's probably what I would say I didn't do. I didn't save him from himself with that game, wanting to play, expecting to play, preparing to play. The truth of the matter is he probably wasn't in a position where he was ready to play.
If Edwards can't go, Danny O'Neal would likely start in his place. Kick on Saturday is at 11.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, after getting the franchise record for wins in a season yesterday, Brewers getting to sit back and watch this week as the wild card round of the playoffs gets going tomorrow. Their eyes will be in Chicago, where the Cubs and San Diego Padres will play a best-of-3 series with the winner getting to come to Milwaukee on Saturday to start the NLDS. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
34-yard field goal attempt off the right hash marks. Matt Orzik on the snap. Daniel Whelan down on one knee. Snap, placement, kick to the uprights. And it is good. And the game ends in a tie.
The end of the ball game.
It's disappointing. Too many critical mistakes that led to that tie. Give Dallas credit. They did a great job offensively, moving the ball down the field. There's a lot of things that we all have to clean up, starting with myself.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
That's the final call, the Packers Radio Network. Wayne Larrivee last night in overtime, and then you heard a comment from Matt LaFleur. Just kind of gets us into the show. Specifically, the comment from Matt LaFleur. There's nothing earth-shattering there, nothing groundbreaking. Just, disappointing, lots of mistakes, got to get it corrected, blah, blah, blah. I actually watched the first 4 quarters of this game at the Sylvie last night. It's not really downtown. I guess it's closer to downtown than the studio is here in Madison. One of my favorite little hippy-dippy indie bands is playing, The Brook and the Bluff. And I couldn't find anyone to go, so I roped Kate in. It's like, hey, well, there's a TV in the suite. We're lucky enough to have a suite there through work that occasionally I scrounge up some tickets and I go. So we watched the Packer game, watched the concert over the railing, watched the Packer game, but then the concert ended and overtime was starting. And I'm like, I wonder if I could just hang out in here. At this point, Kate had to go run the postgame show. And then one of the workers came by and was standing in the doorway. He's like, hey, man, I'm like, you don't have to. I'll leave. It's fine. So I listened to overtime in the car on my drive home. And it's a weird complaint. It's just something. I just hate how fired up Larrivee is here. I don't like how excited he is.
It is good.
It's such a stupid thing to complain about. I wanted and it is good. It is good. It's good. Good. I don't know. Just ties leave a bad taste in your mouth. Better than a loss. But we're talking about this game today like it's a loss. We're reacting to it like it's a loss, which maybe isn't fair, but considering all the opportunities that they had to win for the second week in a row, it certainly feels like a loss.
It is good.
I just don't like it. Love Wayne Larrivee. Love him. Mean it. I don't know what he's supposed to do there, so I guess I'm just complaining to complain. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Hope you had a great weekend and you enjoyed the NFL games yesterday. My hope was that the Packers just played a rather boring, straightforward game. They win by 10 points, 14 points, something like that. I didn't need a 21 or 28-point blowout. I just cover the spread, get back on track, and then we do the show tomorrow because I had all these things that I was excited to talk about before the Packer game was even played last night. And I was telling Kate this last night, who's on Bill's show, and she popped into the studio a couple weeks ago, but I don't know that she's been on this show a ton. I said, Kate, I have all these things that I want to talk about. I just can't have the Packers mess it up. I just need the Packers to get a nondescript win because I actually had some baseball things I wanted to discuss today, some things around football. And then the Packers went and did that. So that will take up the show today. But I guess that's fine. It's a very juicy game to talk about. There's a lot of meat on this bone, so I like that. Good. I was hoping to not be talking about Packers drama and Packers shortcomings today. Peter Bukowski is going to be here at 4:35, Locked on Packers, just to pick over some of the things really that happened in the Cowboys game, but also just a breakdown of what we saw in the first month of the season. The first 4 games is now the Packers going to the bye. So certainly not a mid-season checkup, but an early season checkup with Peter Bukowski. The rest of the show will be you and me. I'll take your phone calls here right after our first break, after I give you my opening take at 608-321-1670. And of course, you can text and call that number. You can comment on the live stream. The Wisco Sports Zone app is the place I would recommend because all of the shows, Bill's show is there, Ebo's show is there. We also are giving away some Brewers tickets to both Game 1 and Game 2 of the NLDS. So if you go to the Wisco Sports Zone app or go to our website, wiscosportszone.com, press that win stuff button. The link is right there. You can get signed up to win. So we want to send some people to the Brewers when they're playing in the NLDS. If you've never been to a playoff game, there's nothing like it. It's really, really cool. So take advantage of that when you're watching the show on our website or on our app. Press the win stuff button and get signed up to win. But lots of ways to watch and to listen to the show and to interact with as well. This game started out like a lot of us hoped and how a lot of us expected. I kind of expected the Packers offense to look really good. And I expected the defense to be able to get some stops against the Cowboys, who were down an O lineman, and they were down their number 1 wide receiver. Like, the game started like a lot of us expected and like a lot of us hoped. Jordan Love was slinging the ball and Romeo Doubs looked awesome. It looked like they were reprising that playoff game in 2023. That's what it looked like. Like, I got deja vu watching it. But then things stalled at 13-0 or 13-2 with that block extra point. And I got confused for the next couple of possessions or the next couple of plays watching the Packers offense. And I tweeted this at Wisco Grant, if you follow me. It just didn't feel like the game last night to gild the lily on offense. I like old-timey expressions. I don't know where that expression came from, but gild the lily means like just make something more complicated or make something more ornate than it needs to be. I don't think the Packers needed to get super creative. I don't think Matt LaFleur needed to unload the play sheet and throw the kitchen sink at the Cowboys. I'm like, wait, they jumped out to what should have been a 14-0 lead, just kind of playing very traditional drop back, normal football. And then it was a lot of sweeps and motions and crisscrosses and bubble screens and RPOs. And I'm watching, I'm like, why are we doing all this? This is not the game to gild the lily on offense, because in the first quarter, Love was hitting Doubs. He was hitting Golden against a pass defense that's not good. The Cowboys cannot defend the pass. And I like some gadget stuff from Matt LaFleur, as I've explained. I'm not like some of you people, parentheses, derogatory, who anytime there's a jet sweep, you just throw a tantrum, whether it works or not. Like, people just don't like the jet sweeps. People just are turned off by it. And don't tell me that people aren't turned off by it. I host the show and I produce for Bill. I see the comments. I hear the calls. Anytime that Jaden Reed gets the ball on a handoff or just everyone gets mad, even if it works. I like some of that gadget stuff. It doesn't trigger me like it triggers some of you. And against Cleveland last week, as I talked about last Monday, I thought they had to empty the playbook. Matt LaFleur threw everything at the Browns, and because the Packers O-line couldn't pass block, they couldn't run block, you kind of needed to pull out every single stop just to try to get one extra first down or one extra score. It was necessary against Cleveland. It wasn't necessary last night. So that was my take through the first quarter, at least when the Packers were up 13-0 or then 13-2. I'm like, why are we doing all this on offense? Why is all this necessary? And then the game just got insane, right? With the special teams gaffe and then the Packers fumble going into half, give up a score. And then the game just kind of turned into a shootout. It was just a back and forth scoring affair. But then in the final sequence of overtime, I think that original theme, my original takeaway, resurfaced. Why are they making this overcomplicated? Why are they adding more window dressing that's necessary? Again, to use the expression one more time, why are they gilding the lily on offense? And that's a Matt LaFleur thing. I didn't have a lot of criticism for Matt LaFleur after the Browns game. I think I was maybe a little bit of an outlier there. I did not love what Matt LaFleur did yesterday. And Jordan Love isn't blameless. And the defense was obviously bad. They gave up 40 points. And Rich Bisaccia's special teams, what do you want me to say? But to me, this game starts with Matt LaFleur, and it literally ended with Matt LaFleur and his play calling and his game management. Not enough urgency. And again, just making the offense a little bit more futsy and putsy than it needed to be. Like, Jordan Love's ripping it, and Doubs looks awesome. And Golden performs really well as a wide receiver when they let him play wide receiver, but they're so intent on using him as a motion and a gadget guy. And again, in some matchups like last week, I get it. I didn't get it last night. I thought Matt LaFleur last season regressed as a head coach. And I think we talked about this plenty. If you even somewhat listen to the show regularly, if you catch it once or twice a week for 15, 20 minutes, you probably have heard me talk about this last season or this last offseason. I thought Matt LaFleur regressed. I thought his clock management last year was some of the worst of his career. I thought his timeout usage was poor last year. I thought his fourth down decision-making was poor last year. And a good player or a good coach can have a bad month, can have a bad game, can have a bad stretch, can even have a bad year. Baseball players have a bad year all the time. Willie Adames 2 years ago was kind of crummy. And then his final year in Milwaukee, he was awesome, right? Even good players have bad years. And I think the same is true of general managers or coaches or even owners. Like I think anybody at any level of sport, no matter how good they are at their job, whether it's blocking or throwing or coaching or acquiring talent or managing a team, I think anybody can have a bad year, even if they're really good. But my expectation with Matt LaFleur was some of those inconsistencies and some of those shortcomings last year were because Jordan Love was kind of hobbled and limited, and that really kind of threw a wrench into the way that maybe they ran their offense, and they never really figured it out. They had some limitations at wide receiver. Dobbs was in and out, and Watson was in and out, and those guys just weren't quite good enough. Wicks wasn't good enough. Reed wasn't good enough in year two, and I think that impacted Matt LaFleur. My expectation was, well, Matt LaFleur regressed last year, but I don't expect that to be the norm moving forward. I don't think he's always going to make the wrong fourth down decision. I don't think he's always going to use timeouts poorly. I don't think his play calling is always going to be weird. I thought that was kind of confined to last year because he had a bad year and there were some extenuating circumstances. I'm seeing some of the same things, and that makes me nervous. I think Matt LaFleur is a very, very, very good coach, as we talked about last week. He has not bathed himself in glory the last 2 years. Is that even the expression, covered himself in glory? He's not glorified himself throughout these last two games, just like through a lot of last year. I'm like, it doesn't seem to be clicking. It's not all working like it was working for him through the first, whatever it would have been, 5 years of his career before last year's. This year's 7, right? The numbers don't need to be exact. You understand what I'm saying. Just overcomplicating the play calling, coaching a little scared, and bad situational management. And Jordan Love, again, is not blameless for that final sequence. In fact, when the game ended yesterday, everyone was losing their mind about Matt LaFleur, and I was getting ready for bed. I was brushing my teeth, and I'm like, okay, if I'm being honest with myself here, it's easy to blame the coach for everything. But Jordan Love has now been starting. This is his third year. He's getting paid a lot of money, and he had performed at a really high level last night. That can't all be on Matt LaFleur. Jordan Love has to wear some of that too. Now, whether you want to say it's 50-50 or 70-30 or 60-40, whatever. I'm not excusing Jordan Love of blame. He's got to be quicker and he's got to be better situationally aware in that stretch. But I do think it starts with coaching. I didn't like the play calling. I didn't like them letting the clock run down to the 2-minute warning. Let me outline this in a way that's very cut and dry. I'll just read you the blow by blow. And I'll start with a tweet from Peter Bukowski, who's going to join us in about 20 minutes. The Packers got the ball back in OT with 4:40 left. They converted a 4th and 6 with 3:50 remaining and did not face another third down until there was 6 seconds left, and somehow threw one ball into the end zone. Just criminally conservative with a quarterback who is on fire. Pathetic. That's good, strong commentary from Peter. We love this. This is the blow-by-blow for their last 4 plays, okay? 1st and 10, they're on the Dallas 12 with 32 seconds left and a timeout. Feel awesome about at least getting a couple of chances to get into the end zone. They're in a great spot. They lose 3 yards to make it 2nd and 13 with 28 seconds left and call timeout. They're on the Dallas 15 with 28 seconds left and no timeouts. Then on 2nd and 13, Jordan Love throws a check down for a 1-yard loss. The clock is obviously running. The only other play they got off was that incompletion to the end zone, which luckily the clock, showed 1 second left. That's always, football's such an imperfect sport. That's just not acceptable. You can't get the ball in overtime with 4:40 left, multiple timeouts or one timeout, with an offense that's been moving the ball at will for the last 2 quarters and not really even get an honest to goodness shot at the end zone. Not even one. That's just not acceptable. So yeah, Jordan Love has got to operate a little bit more quickly, and so do all the players around him. But to me, that's a Matt LaFleur thing. Like that's a Matt LaFleur thing. And whether he takes 60% of the blame and Jordan Love gets 40, or whether Matt LaFleur gets 70 or 80, the exact number, I'm not going to get bogged down in that. But to me, it starts with Matt LaFleur, who I spent a lot of last week defending, and I think he's really good. But I really hated the way that he coached last night in multiple different situations. And that's a bad sign, because I didn't think he was great at that last year, but I thought it was regression. He had a bad year. Even good coaches have a bad year. And Jordan Love was hurt, which was weird. And they had limitations at wide receiver, which was weird. They just have a lot of extenuating circumstances last year. So I understood some of those blips on the radar for Matt LaFleur. But if they continue into this year, they're no longer blips on the radar. They're a continuing trend. I don't like that. And getting the ball back with 4 minutes and 40 seconds in overtime, when Jordan Love at that moment, by the way, and I don't remember who tweeted this last night, but I'll read it to you. I bookmarked it because I thought it was a great observation and it was really well worded. It was from, was it Tyler Brook? Let's see here. I bookmarked so many tweets last night. I'm sorry. It'll just take me a second to find it here. Jordan Love, maybe I'm not going to be able to find it, led 4 separate game tying or go-ahead drives between the fourth quarter and overtime. He was marching the ball up and down the field. And I just don't really want to hear an excuse for what, well, the clock, we would have done this differently. Guys, you get the ball with 4:40 left in a timeout, and to not get one honest-to-goodness shot at the end zone, given they were down inside the 15 with a timeout left in over 30 seconds, that's just not acceptable. So the inner workings and the little, well, we had an RPO, but they gave us this. No. You had 4 minutes and 40 seconds and a timeout, and you were within the 15 with the timeout with more than 30 seconds remaining. I don't really care about the inner workings of what happened. Like, I don't want to hear it. This reminds me, when I was younger, both of my parents worked full time. So in the summer, we would be home alone, me and my siblings. I'm the oldest. And my mom would always leave a list of, I need these things done before I get home, right? Chores, or these are things you need to do this or that. Like, here's a checklist of things you need to do. And she would get home around 5. And 4:50 would roll around and we would have done none of those things. And she'd come in the door and ask why these things aren't done. And I would, give her some, well, this happened today and this happened. It's like, wait. You've been here since 8 o'clock this morning. You should have had plenty of time. Like, I don't care about all don't give me a list of this, that. I don't want to hear your bull roar story. You had 4 minutes and 40 seconds in a timeout with a quarterback in an offense that was moving the ball at will. And you were down inside the 15 with more than 30 seconds left and a timeout. And you didn't even get really one bona fide, honest to goodness play at the end zone. I don't really care about the details. That's just not acceptable. And to me, that starts with Matt LaFleur. Jordan Love wears a little bit of it too, but it starts with Matt LaFleur. So that's my opening take. I will take your opening takes on the other side. 608-321-1670, right to you after this break.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's on all of us. It's not just on one individual. It's everybody. It's starting with myself. So we got to do a better job coaching what we need to get done, and then our players we all collectively got to do a better job there. And it just wasn't good enough.
That's Matt LaFleur. Just gets us back into it. I know they explained on that final drive, we had O-zone, out of bounds or end zone. Like they're talking about the intricacies. Well, we thought we'd get this defense, and then they showed us this. I don't really care. You got the ball left with 4:40 in overtime, and you were within the 15-yard line with a timeout with more than 30 seconds left. And you didn't even really get one honest-to-goodness shot at the end zone. So I don't really I don't care about the details. That result is just not acceptable. I put it mostly on LaFleur. Jordan Love carries some blame absolutely too. He's a big boy, right? He's got to know to operate faster. And he's got to know that he can't throw some of those passes. But Matt LaFleur's got to understand, hey, we're cooking this defense. I'm not even going to flirt. I'm not even going to potentially have certain concepts in there because they're a waste. I'm not even going to have them as a part of the formation. That's a play caller's job and a coach's job. Jordan Love is not blameless. And certainly the defense was bad and the special teams is even worse. We'll get to that later on in the show. But to me, my opening take or my opening thought is about Matt LaFleur. Now I want to hear from you. 608-321-1670. 4 of you on hold. I will get to you all before our next break. And we'll talk with Peter Bukowski here at the bottom of the hour. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. It's Joe in La Crosse. How are you?
Hey, Joe. What's going on? I'm good.
I'm doing wonderful. I've given just a little less blame to the coach, a little more on the QB. He's got to be in control in that moment with no timeouts and figure it out. And I think at the end of the day, quick take, the worst part about a tie is that for the rest of the season, for 16 weeks or whatever it is, 14 weeks, we got to play the 13-1-1 game. We got to play the 6-9-1 game. We got to play all this.
It's a major inconvenience for us. This is by far the worst part of this, Joe. I agree.
It's tough. And, Bill was talking earlier, I don't want to rehash it all, but he was talking about how we can't get punched in the mouth and we don't recover. And I think at the end of the day, we haven't really gotten punched in the mouth. At the end of the Bills or Browns game, we got punched in the mouth. That was just kill shot. And then this week, we got punched in the mouth one time. We came back and recovered right away. So I don't know. I think we got a good squad. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm a big bull. And go Pack, go. Go Cubs, go. Let her buck. Let's go.
All right. Enough of the go Pack, go. And in love we trust. I do that on your own time. But I appreciate the call, Joe. And on the concept of getting punched in the face, I actually think they've been punched in the face twice in the last 2 weeks and responded rather nicely. The Packers, weren't they down going into halftime? What was the score at halftime? They were down at the half. Yeah, they're down 13-16. And watching the game, I'm like, I still think they should win. And Jordan Love and the offense just ripped it up and down the field. And the defense, I'm not going to say they played good, but they got to stop in overtime when they needed one. And they opened the door for the offense, and the offense marched right down the field. And then situationally, they just couldn't hack it. So very, very frustrating. It's not like they folded and the opposing team ran away with it. They had a chance to kick a field goal to win last week. They couldn't execute. They had a chance, again, inside the 15 with a timeout to put the ball in the end zone, which they had done without fail really after halftime, and they couldn't get it done. That's what's frustrating. So, no, I don't think they folded at the first sign of adversity. I wouldn't say they've been derailed after they've been punched in the mouth. I actually think, if anything, the last 2 weeks, they bounced back nicely. It's just frustrating that it hasn't resulted in wins. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Hey, Grant. It's the old Clemhead from Chippewa.
The old Clemhead. What's going on, Clemhead?
Old Clemhead. I'm so old that Well, anyway, I remember watching the Packers since the '60s, so I try not to get too high or too low in these games. But last night I was pretty upset. What the heck was that? What was that end of the first half? That was, I mean, Matt LaFleur is trying to create something out of nothing. He should just let the clock run out. And then the blocked kick, the blocked extra point resulted in a 3-point swing. Well, there's your win or loss or tie right there.
It's pretty, and when a game goes to overtime, it's very easy to say, well, you gave up 2 points. There's the game because the game goes to overtime. So it's especially obvious in last night's game. Yeah.
Absolutely. In the horrible play calling and clock management at the end of overtime. So three keys for me was the awful clock management at the end of the first half, the blocked kick, and the end of overtime. I never scream at the TV anymore. You know, it doesn't help. They can't hear me, but I screamed a little bit last night, especially at the end of the first half. What the heck was LaFleur thinking there? He tries to overthink everything. Tries to prove he's the smartest guy in the room. And I called him LaFlunk last night in honor of Dave from Monona.
I wonder if we'll hear from Dave from Monona today. No, it's fair. Sometimes the LaFlunk, he was first on that train. I appreciate it, Clemhead, the old Clemhead up in Chippewa Falls. That's a tough one for me, the way they handled going into halftime. Yeah, they could have knelt it down and gone in with the lead. But then I think, a certain portion of Packers fans, and maybe I would have even been in this boat, said, well, you've been moving the ball up and down the field. What are you doing just giving up going into halftime? So it's difficult, and it feels a little unfair for me today to question, well, why wasn't Matt LaFleur more aggressive, except for that one spot when he should have been less aggressive? Certainly now that we know the results, it would have been smarter to kneel the ball down. But they had other opportunities to win. It's not like the block extra point completely screwed them over, or giving up that touchdown before half completely screwed them over. They had plenty of opportunities to win, didn't do it. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk about it. Again, put a pin in both the defense and the special teams. I want to get to those two things at 5:00, but kind of leading today with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and how they handled that final possession, where again, you're in the 15, inside the Cowboys 15, more than 30 seconds on the clock and a timeout, and you got nothing. You got one shot at the end zone, and it was kind of a clown car. 608-321-1670. Two more calls here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Hey, it's a frustrated Uncle Packer, and I think I'm older than Clemhead.
Okay.
But I just want to say that I'm so sick of the special teams. It's like special teams has been deficient for years and years. And it seems like it's always going to be fixed. And Matt LaFleur says he's going to fix it, but it doesn't ever seem to get fixed. And it's just the last two games we can blame losses on our special teams.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just called him, he's a big boy, but he's the $55 million man.
Yeah.
Jordan Love should not be a boy. He needs to get a little gristle and get looking live and yell and holler and get these guys up to the line. He's got a lead, and it's getting really frustrated, because if those things happen, we got a chance of greatness. And this was not a tie. This was a loss. We lost 40-40. Everything about this was a loss. And I agree. I hate dealing with that one number at the end. And if at the end of the year, it's going to make a difference if we get in the playoffs or not, with our defense and what we've just done to our defense, we've completely underachieved.
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks, that's a great call, Uncle Packer. I agree. It's infuriating because the last 2 weeks, their defense was unbelievable last week, and they lost. And then this week, their offense was unbelievable, and they lost. I would be fine going into the bye 3-1, which is what I said after the Browns game. I said, all right, you beat the Cowboys next week, and you're 3-1 going into the bye to get healthy and to make adjustments and to begin, the latter portion of your schedule. 3-1, I'd be fine with. 2-2 feels like a big time underachievement, to your point, Uncle Packer. That's a really good call, and I like it. It's a 40-40 loss. I like that framing. It's certainly how it feels. One more call here, and then we'll get to a break, and Peter Bukowski will join us on the other side to break down yesterday, but also just kind of talk about the first month of the season. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Dean, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dean. Nice to see you last week, by the way.
Oh, yes. Thanks for coming to lacrosse. It was a great time.
It was the best time. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming to Flipside. What's up?
Oh, yeah. I think Golden, if he gets hit like that a couple more times, he's just going to be he got blown up on a punt return. I think they swapped him out as the punt returner for Dobbs at the end. But I didn't understand what kind of defensive scheme were they in, the Cowboys, that on that screenplay or whatever you want to call it, kind of the flat throw that Diggs is just jumping it and going down there. I mean, it seems like they were almost anticipating that when you would think that they'd be anticipating the ozone, as you've been talking about. Like, it seemed to be a good idea just to say, well, they're not going to be anticipating this because he's going to be playing way off. But maybe that's just who Diggs is. He wants to get the big moment and then not, give up a big play, so he's trying to just throw himself out there, even though he wouldn't be the one blamed if it goes badly. And my kids want to say something. Can I jump on quick?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Go Vikings!
Go that Dean, our resident Vikings fan. I appreciate that. The Vikings, by the way, Vikings Steelers. This is what the bummer is. If the Packers had just won a boring game last night, we'd have so many other NFL things to talk about tonight. And I'm bummed that we can't because we got to talk about this whole debacle. By the way, on that specific play that Dean's talking about, the way that Diggs was defending in the flat and coming up and looking aggressive, you'll hear Bukowski talk about this in the next segment because I recorded with him before the show. The Packers had run that same run pass option like 3 or 4 times. They were beating the same drum. They were doing the same thing. So the Cowboys started to catch on and they started to defend it in a way that fits the situation. Wow. Calling plays and behaving in such a way to fit the situation. Imagine that. Had the Packers done that, maybe we'd be talking about a win. They're 3-1 going into the bye. And we watched an unbelievable football game last night that was a blast and was really fun. And instead, we're doing this. Let's take a couple-minute break. We'll come back. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, will join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I got to start this interview quickly so we can get it all in. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, about to join us. I recorded with him earlier today. At 5 o'clock, we'll do a hard reset, and we can talk about the special teams. I have some things to say. We can also talk a little bit about the defense. So far, we've been doing Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, and to me, that's the big takeaway from last night, but we'll get into the other stuff to start hour number 2. But in the meantime, Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers, here's a conversation that I had with him from earlier today. Peter Bukowski is here, Locked On Packers. Of course, his newsletter, The Leap, something that you should subscribe to as well. Very good squad show the other night after the Packers lost. I can never fall asleep right after a Packers night game. And it's probably worse for you on the East Coast. Like, I need an hour to wind down. So that's how I wound down. I watched some of your squad show and then obviously started my day with Locked On Packers today as well. So I'm all caught up. Are you well, Peter, before we begin?
I am exhausted, but I am well. I actually, I used to work nights at Sports Illustrated. And so I had to learn to go to sleep right when I got home, or like I couldn't do it. Like there were nights I was working till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because the Final Four happens and it's 1, and then there's the hullabaloo, the confetti falls, and then it's interviews, and then someone's got to sit down and write the thing, and then I got to edit the thing. And so like there was one Final Four where Luke Wynn wrote the piece, I remember, and I was finishing my day as the sun was coming up. So I had to learn, when you're done, we got to just be done. I got to go to bed. I got to just be done. And luckily I was able to do it last night about 2:30.
I also had experiences in college and shortly after where I would go to bed as I could hear the birds beginning to chirp, but that was for very different reasons. But terrifying when you hear that. It's like, I am not going to be feeling good for a long time now. I was not that upset. I was feeling fine with this Packers result. It was a bummer, but a hell of a game, very entertaining. And if I wasn't a Packers or a Cowboys fan, I'd be like, man, that was a baller football game. Packers should have won. Is the number one reason they didn't win last night Matt LaFleur?
Oof. How about this? The number one reason the Packers lost last night was coaching, because I think it is a combination of Matt LaFleur, Jeff Hafley, and Rich Bisaccia. Like, there's no question special teams cost this team the game. But you should have been able to put together a better defense here. I thought Jeff Hafley played one of the more uninspired games in terms of game planning that we've seen him put together. We knew Dak Prescott was going to want to get the ball out of his hands ASAP. He and Aaron Rodgers, prime Aaron Rodgers, and even late stage Aaron Rodgers, they will hang in there and 3-step and rip a seam ball or rip a go ball. Not very many quarterbacks will do that. Joe Burrow being another one. But they didn't push the ball down the field that many times. They were just wildly efficient when they did it. This was a game where they've been sitting on underneath stuff all year, Grant. Like the Washington game is a prime example.
I don't grind the film, but it has felt that way.
Yeah, Keyshawn Nixon had 5 pass breakups in that Washington game because they just did not believe the Commanders were ever going to be able to get the ball over their heads. And I don't know why they didn't bring that approach to Dallas. Dak Prescott wanted to get the ball out quick and they couldn't do it. And then the reason you asked me the question, right, leading the witness, Your Honor, is because of the conservative way the fourth quarter ended. It seemed like he played for the tie on the final drive.
In overtime or in the fourth quarter?
In the fourth quarter, that last drive felt like he was playing for the tie. Josh Jacobs breaks off a 25-yarder. You're in Dallas territory, and you run on 3rd and 1? Like, what are we doing?
Well, was that a matter of we need to clear this down in distance so we can eventually be in a position if we need to take a field goal? I got that more than I got.
But Grant, who cares? Because on 4th and 1, then go for it.
Okay.
Like if you don't get it, if you try and get a chunk on 3rd and 1, you still have 4th and 1. And then what you can do is if you have to burn your timeout, let's say, then you clock it.
Okay. Reasonable.
But you've converted on 4th and 1. You have to give yourself that opportunity. I thought it was, and then they get the first down. And what do? They run the ball again. It's like, come on. That can't be the idea. And so it seemed like he was so worried about Brandon Aubrey getting a chance to kick a 70-yard field goal at the end of OT that they just lollygagged their whole way down the field. And if you go back and watch it, and it's just a normal drive in the second quarter, you go, man, they are beating the crap out of Dallas. They are just getting whatever they want every time and converting with ease. Of course, after they have to convert a 4th and 6. But you go back and watch that, and you said you're not a tape grinder, but you go back and watch that on all 22. Like, it's an easy conversion. It looks like a difficult one on the broadcast angle, but like Jordan Love hits his back foot, Matthew Golden's wide open. You just rip it to him. They got whatever they wanted down the field, but no urgency at all. And there were a couple of times, Grant, I don't know if you noticed this, watching live, there were times when Jordan tried to get them to the line, and then it seemed like Matt LaFleur was like, no, let's huddle up. And they would come back out of it and slow it back down. And it was like, it was so slow and so methodical. Go win the football game. Go score. They had scored 24 straight points on their last 4 drives. Just go score a touchdown. That has to be the mentality. And I hate to do this, and your audience might get mad at me for doing this. It's just not how Dan Campbell would have coached the game. It's not how Kevin O'Connell would have coached the game. And it's not how Ben Johnson would have coached the game. Now, we don't have any idea if Ben Johnson is any good, but I'm telling you, it's not how you'd want. Is it how you would want Matt LaFleur to coach the game? No. And he said, in retrospect, if we'd have known that would have happened, we would have done it differently. You know what that is, Grant? A lot of words to say we screwed up. And we handled that poorly. It was bad situational coaching, and that's what cost them the game. What's crazy about it, Grant, is they were too conservative. They scored 40 points. Like this offense played a B plus kind of game and scored 40 points on the road. Jordan Love, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I thought he was outstanding in this football game. It just is kind of crazy that this is where this team is. Their offense no shows last week. They lose because of special teams. Their defense no shows this week, and they lose because of special teams. What's going on?
It's very frustrating because it feels like they should have. If they're 3-1, I'm over it. I can swallow either this
3-0-1.
3-0. Let's just say they win 1 and lose 1, just to make it very simple. I can tolerate that going into the bye. It's the NFL. It's hard, and you're not always going to win every single game that you're supposed to win. So I get it.
The tie is going to screw us both up at the end of the year when we're trying to figure out playoff scenarios live on the air. And you're like, oh wait, that's right. There's a tie in there, and I'm just like, I just already know I'm going to be so annoyed by it in December. It's going to be like I hate it already. I hate it. I wish they just would have lost in some ways.
I like Matt LaFleur a lot. And I don't complain about jet sweeps. You might get this in your audience. Like anytime they run a jet sweep, it's just like a trigger for Packers fans. Even if it works, it's just like, oh, that's crap.
They called one last night and it worked.
You're right. What I don't get, one of my favorite expressions is gild the lily. I like old timey expressions. I feel like they gilded the lily on offense last night and they didn't need to. Like, why do we need bubble screens behind the line of scrimmage? And why do we need to run sweep plays? Just let Jordan Love drop back and rip the ball. It was working. And they got I get it against the Browns. You couldn't protect. Like, you had to try other things. They didn't need to try anything out of the box last night. I don't get it.
Well, and the funny thing is there is this sort of paradoxical perspective on the game, because at once I think you're right that they tried to get a little too cute. And then at other times I'm just like, why are you trying to get so cute? Like, why the single wing play action nonsense? Why some of the, let's run this receiver screen to Matthew Golden, who's like 6th out of 5 receivers of the guys that I would want to get a receiver screen.
Put a pin in that. I want to ask you about that next. Put a pin in that. We'll come back.
Okay. But so like they ran the same RPO 6 times on the last drive in overtime. And there's a reason Trayvon Diggs was ready to drive on the one to Matthew Golden at the end, because they had run it 5 other times and it kind of worked. Like, it was fine. They were picking up yardage with it. And it's a great way to make things simple for your offense, because the offensive line is just like, okay, well, we're going to run block and then we'll see what happens. But he did, to your point, coach, like he didn't think they could block this Dallas front. And for the first half, they kind of couldn't. In the second half, they did it. They had no problems with it in the second half. And they continued to call plays like they were scared of this Dallas front. And that was the part that did not make any sense to me.
They've struggled run blocking, and maybe we can talk about that next. But you mentioned Matthew Golden. I have been very impressed with his ability to play wide receiver. when they have let him play wide receiver. I don't know why they do it more often. So give me your thoughts on that.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think they are a little afraid in some ways of this hierarchy question. Matt LaFleur says he hates it, right? We hate this wide receiver one question. But the only thing I can come up with for why they're giving Matthew Golden all of these touches that rightfully, if we're just talking about traits and scouting reports and what they're good at, should go to Savion Williams. The only reason you're doing that is because you just want to get Matthew Golden the ball. You have to find other ways then. You have to find other ways. And frankly, you have to just let the offense run. You have to just let Jordan Love find Matthew Golden. They were, if Love is looking at Golden off the rip on that 4th down throw, it's a touchdown. He gets to him late and didn't have time to check the safety, and so wasn't confident in it. I get that. Is like, I'm putting my fingers for the audience that is listening. I'm putting my fingers very close together, this close to a 90-yard touchdown against the Commanders, and then this close to a 90-yard touchdown against the Browns. And so they didn't have to do anything special. You don't have to do the jet sweeps. That should be Savion Williams' thing. You don't have to do the receiver screens. That should be Savion Williams' thing. And I understand it. It's different. Like some of the RPO stuff, Grant, like that's just built into your offense. Mm-hmm. And so that, like, you don't want to be predictable by formation, but there are ways to do this where it makes more sense than it currently does. I want them to let Matthew Golden play receiver. And this is very similar to what happened with Christian Watson. They were not letting Christian Watson early in his career play receiver. For whatever reason, they let Romeo Doubs just play receiver. And I think sometimes Matt LaFleur gets in this mode of like, well, I need someone to be able to do this for me in this offense. And so this is like, we're just going to do it with this guy. And I think Jaden Reed was like that for a little while, where it's like, I just need Jaden Reed to be able to do this for me. And forgetting that he can do all this other stuff as a receiver. Now they've eventually got there with him, but like, it seems like they're just locked into some of these rigid structures that I don't quite understand why. But to your point, I think Matt LaFleur is a really good coach. I have confidence in Matt LaFleur's ability to get the most out of his players. I think by December, this team can be phenomenal if the offensive line is pretty healthy. I think this offense can be incredible, and we've seen the defense kick ass. So I'm not pressing the panic button. We saw them win the 2 games against the NFC contenders we needed to see them win. But it's just weird right now what's happening.
I don't feel worse about their talent after the last 2 weeks. I feel a little bit worse, and I have questions about their ability to execute and be mature and to have taken a step past where they were last year. The only personnel question I have that maybe I didn't have 2 weeks ago is their O-line. Like, is that a legitimate concern?
Well, when their 3rd string right tackle is playing, yeah, no doubt.
Guys get hurt though. Like, you know what I mean?
Guys do get hurt, but how many, like, no team goes 3 deep. The Philadelphia Eagles don't go 3 deep.
Of course.
The Detroit Lions don't go 3 deep. Like if Penei Sewell weren't playing and Darian Kennard were playing, how different would that Detroit Lions offense look? I would say pretty damn different. And we saw them in the first game. The Packers, like they dominated that game up front. And we've seen the Lions since then dominate everybody else. Like that is in there. That's there. And I think Micah Parsons was awesome last night. It was Rashawn Gary who no-showed as a pass rusher, who was leading the NFL in sacks. It was Lucas Van Ness, he had one opportunity late, nearly got the swipe, nearly got the strip sack. The Packers were fingernails away from 2 strip sacks in this game. The Cowboys they made that one play. And so, I'm not, that stuff is like that. That's how the NFL works. Like every game comes down to 5 plays. And if one team makes 4 and the other team makes 1, you're going to get blown out. This was a game where like both teams somehow made 5 plays and it ended in a tie. And I can do without the, the phrases. We don't need to repeat any of those. I've never liked them, but this is a situation where I don't think the talent that we saw in weeks 1 and 2 was a mirage. I don't think that was fool's gold. I don't think we're on fraud watch here with the Packers. This is a really, really good football team.
I would agree. Peter Bukowski is here. Locked On Packers. Subscribe to The Leap as well. One more thing. This is a little bit of an old man take. I wish I could hit this harder today, but the Packers went and played a complicated game that I didn't think would be complicated. So I was like, I have this NFL thing I want to get to if the Packers just don't mess it up. But we're seeing all these kicks get blocked. And I watch the NFL pregame shows and stuff, and everyone's like, what a wild year in the air. There's something in the air. There's something in the water. No. I think this is an epidemic. I think this is bad coaching, bad fundamentals, not attentive in practice. That's what I think this is. And I hate that the Packers are complicit because I don't think you can win multiple playoff games in a row if you can't block up simple extra points or simple field goals or cover kicks.
Well, there's 2 things here, Grant. They don't practice it. Like you said, you listened to the squad show. Jeff Jagosinski was on it. Former offensive line coach, and he's like, you do not practice, not. Oh, we just once or twice a practice, or we only do it in training camp. No, they don't practice it. It doesn't happen. Because he's like, imagine if you lost, because you have starting offensive linemen and starting defensive linemen, defensive starters playing both sides. Imagine if you tried to simulate it live. This is Coach Jags talking. And I'm kind of like, yeah, but if it's costing you games, don't you have to consider maybe trying it? Now, this is also part of, and I don't think this is an old man take at all. When they changed the CBA in 2011, they materially impacted the quality of fundamentals and coaching in the NFL, because the offseason practices are not offseason practices anymore. They're in shells. They're not real practices. They used to be in pads. We used to live in a society.
Guys used to show up instead of
football players played football.
Yeah.
And the CBA changed that. And this is why offensive line is so bad. You can't develop players the same way anymore. Ask any offensive line coach, any scout, and any person related to football will tell you this is what's happening right now in the NFL. There's not enough development in college because there's not enough time. There's no continuity. NIL is only going to make this worse because coaching staffs are not going to have any time to see a player through 4 years of college. God forbid you have a coach who, runs a system that fits his players. That's not a Badgers podcast that I have, but I do watch. I do have eyeballs. And so this is just something that's going to keep happening for as long as this keeps happening. I don't know how you change it at this point because you can't practice it. I think part of the problem for the Packers is they have never had core special teams players really since like Mike Holmgren. Like, remember, I can name, and maybe I just have a sickness, but like I remember Lamont Hollingquest, and I remember Mark Pryor and the special teams players on the 90s Packers.
Jarrett Bush.
Thank you. That's 2010. That's so like those players were on the Packers for whatever you want to think about Jarrett Bush. Those players were on the Packers for years. Well, Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave was just thrown into field goal protect like 4 minutes before the game. Tucker Kraft has only been in the NFL for 2 seasons. Like you don't have core special teams players on this team. And so this is a problem. If you can't practice a thing, you have to have guys who know how to do it. And the Packers just doesn't seem like they have guys who know how to do it, A, and B, it doesn't seem like they have players or coaches who know how to coach it effectively either.
Well, I guess we'll just keep trying it and hope it works out.
Yeah.
I guess, by the way, in hindsight, maybe a couple practices at center would have helped Elton Jenkins this offseason. Just saying.
Might have. Yep.
Might have made a difference. Well, appreciate your time, Peter. As always, it's a treat to get you on. Thank you. And we will watch and subscribe and listen to Locked On Packers. Always. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Appreciate Peter Bukowski's time, Locked on Packers. Always a pleasure to have him on. So fun to react to yesterday's game, and there's a ton to pick through from yesterday's game. We barely scratched the surface. Started by talking about Matt LaFleur and a little bit of Jordan Love. Here when we reset the show to begin hour number 2, I want to talk about the special teams because it's not just a Packers thing, although it is a Packers thing, but you've been watching other games around the league the last 2 weeks. Lots of blocked kicks, a couple blocked punts. So I have a couple of words to say on that. At some point in hour number 2, just kind of depends on how many Packers phone calls we get. If we get a lot of Packers phone calls, then maybe I'll push this until tomorrow. I do have a thought on the final day around the baseball season and some things that transpired. 5-6 minutes tops on that. I would like to discuss that. And we also have the Monday mailbag. So submit your questions, grantbills21@gmail.com. We didn't do it last week, so I'm going to roll over a couple of questions that are still kind of sitting in there. And you can submit yours, grantbills21@gmail.com. And my last name, Bills, by the way, spelled B-I-L-S-E. And we can do that in the final segment of the show. But at 5 o'clock in about 2 minutes here after Zach's update, I just want to get into the special teams thing. And I don't want to make the full 2-hour show about, well, if they just, blocked a kick, they win. True. That's also kind of a boring show. And I think there are bigger fish to fry. I think the head coach and the quarterback did some things and didn't do some things that are a little bit more important. But the special teams are a catastrophe as well. And I want to discuss that to begin hour number 2. And I'll get back to taking your phone calls as well. It's 608-321-1670. All the phone lines are empty. I'll get to you. I won't make you wait too long, I promise. And those are kind of some of the things that are coming up in the second hour of the show. So again, submit your mailbag questions. I'll take your calls. I would love to give you a baseball thought, but I want to come back after Zach's update here and discuss special teams. So no commercials, no reason to go anywhere. Zach will get you updated, the latest in Wisconsin sports, and then we'll get right back to the Packers to begin hour number 2.
An update.
Well, the Packers back home after that 40-40 tie last night in Dallas. It was a frustrating night for Green Bay, who jumped out to a 2-touchdown lead, but mistakes in special teams and turnovers fueled the Cowboys' comeback. In the end, they gave up 40 points to Green Bay, tying the most the team has given up under Coach Matt LaFleur. He let down clear and edge rusher Micah Parsons' word, especially considering what the offense has done.
Long pissed off. Very disappointed overall how we performed. I even turned to the side, thank you for having our back. That's why it's pivotal to play complimentary football. Today, Jordan played like the player he was, and we let him down. We lowered expectations on defense.
Parsons and the rest of the team going to have to wait an extra week to get that taste out of their mouths. They hit the bye week 2-1-1. It should allow some of their injured players, including 3 of their top 6 offensive linemen, to heal the return against the Bengals at Lambeau Field the following week. Wisconsin, they're prepping for their trip to number 20 Michigan on Saturday. Wolverines have been installed as a 16.5-point favorite, biggest spread between the two sides since at least 1997. Kick on Saturday is at 11.
When a company only does business, that's Wisconsin strong. We're mutual. All lines of insurance, including commercial, car, and auto, and your premiums stay right here. Keep Wisconsin strong. Local underwriter, local claims
Well, the Brewers are in wait-and-see mode now after closing the season with the win over the Reds yesterday to get to a franchise-best 97 victories. Now they'll wait for their opponent in the National League Divisional Series. It will either be the Cubs or Padres. The series starting in Milwaukee on Saturday. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil. Print.
A.J. Cole, the holder. The kick is blocked. Unbelievable. In agony down on that Vegas sideline. Oh, the pressure, they blocked it. Sidney Brown's got it. He's going to return it for a touchdown. Cam Latu got the block. Brown for 6.
Menace has the extra point blocked, and the Cowboys trying to take it back for 2 with Marquise Bell. The Dallas on the board with a 2-pointer off the blocked extra point.
Disappointing, too many critical mistakes that led to that tie. Give Dallas credit. They did a great job offensively, moving the ball down the field. There's a lot of things that we all have to clean up, starting with myself.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
A little bit of a montage around the NFL yesterday. You heard the blocked kick and the return between the Packers and the Cowboys last night. But Eagles-Bucks featured a blocked punt. Raiders-Bears featured a blocked kick. And I want to begin this second hour of the show by talking about special teams. Of course, the focus being the Packers, but you see it around the league, and we discussed this a little bit with Peter Bukowski. The NFL is a sport where oftentimes when there's one weird game, it seems like there's a bunch. And we've experienced this over the last couple of weeks where you walk away from a noon slate or from a 3 o'clock slate when there's multiple games on at once in those two windows. You walk away and you go, what's going on today? Like, what is happening? There's something in the air. There's something in the water. There's something. What is it about week 3 or week 4? Like, there's just a lot of chaos. It seems like when there's chaos in one game, it spreads to the others. This is why the NFL is so darn entertaining. This is why Red Zone is such a good product, right? For so many people. So many people like watching Red Zone. And I've heard a lot of that type of commentary and that kind of sentiment centered around blocked kicks, blocked punts, special teams, where it's like, what's going on in the NFL this year? I tweeted this yesterday after Bears-Raiders. I tweeted this before the Packer game last night, and I'll just read it verbatim to you. I tweeted, all these blocked field goals are a product of sloppy ball and inattention to detail. Annoyed that the Packers are complicit. Can't take you seriously as a contender if you can't get a field goal off when you need it. Sorry. I mean that. Like, if you can't get a field goal blocked when you need a field goal blocked, you are not a serious team. Like, I don't think the Packers are a serious contender right now. I think they have all the pieces. But at Cleveland, to get out of there with a win and to go to 3-0, and you just need to make a 40-yard field goal, and your protection unit gets ran through like hot corn through a goose, I can't take you seriously. And then a week later, you have the exact same thing happen, and it's a 3-point swing in a game that ultimately goes to overtime because you don't get the extra point and you give away 2 points on the other end. I just can't take you seriously. And there's all these teams that obviously aren't dedicating practice time to it. And they're obviously not dedicating the necessary attention. We always talk about it, all three phases. And it's obnoxious as hell because the Packers are like, well, it's we-fence. We take we-fence. No, you don't. You came up with a cute nickname and you talk about it at a press conference. That's all you do. So I cannot take these teams seriously. Executing on special teams is important, and set the blocked extra point to the side, which getting an extra point blocked is bad enough. But then when it gives up 2 points on the other end, even worse. When the Cowboys scored their final touchdown of the fourth quarter, Brandon McManus kicks off 64 yards from Green Bay's 35. Cavante Turpin returns for 45 yards, and no one was even close to him. Like, no one was even close. It's not like he made some amazing move. He just ran up the sideline to Pert near midfield. It was not even close. They're not even sniffing him. Like, this special teams is disgusting. And it's not just the Packers, but I'm mad the Packers are complicit. Like, if all of your stupid friends started jumping off a bridge, would you do it too? Well, yeah, the Packers can't block a field goal, but neither can nobody else. Well, great. That's great. Well, as long as everybody sucks at it, then I guess it's fine. I don't think it's something in the air. I think it's these teams not paying attention to detail, and they're not practicing, and they're not preaching it. And it's such a simple, easy thing to preach. And it's such a low bar to clear as a contender, but it's a bar you absolutely have to clear. And the Packers haven't cleared it. And obviously so many other teams around the league haven't as well. So we led the show with Matt LaFleur. Conversation. We can add special teams into the mix as well. Take your Packers phone calls. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Tony from Texas, in the eye of the hurricane here. I will, so what your points are, the Packers are literally 2 special teams plays away from being 4-0. And it's just doing the basics, Grant, like tying your shoe, putting on your shirt, the basics, the things that you and I just know we need to do.
Just adult
That's
things. Matching your belt to your shoes. Matching, making sure your tie doesn't only go down to your belly, but you know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Tuck your shirt in. Yes. Easy things are difficult for the Packers. And I will say this. Would you rather have no talent and a well-coached team? No. I'd rather have the talent and a team that's not coached the best with potential.
Same.
This is happening in September.
Yeah. Yes.
It's going to be okay.
I think, well, it can be okay. I'm not going to go so far as to say, Tony, I appreciate it. We just got loaded phone lines. I'm not going to go so far as to say it'll be fine. And Matt LaFleur, we trust. Anytime I hear radio people or writers saying or tweeting in so-and-so we trust, I don't trust any of these people. I trust no one in my life because that's how I operate. It's not true, but in Matt LaFleur, I trust. In Goody, I don't trust any of these. We're going to judge them based on their actions and the results. So I don't know that they'll fix this. I'll tell you what, these last 2 games have done very little to make me think less of the talent the Packers have. I still think they're very talented. And I know their defense got ran through last night, and we could talk about that in a couple minutes. I still think they have a lot of good talent up and down the board. And to Tony's point, I'd rather be in this situation with a lot of talent that needs to be fine-tuned than the other way around. A team with a severe talent limit, but it's well-coached. Then you're the first year of Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions, and didn't they lose their first 8 or 9 games? I think the Packers are in a fine spot. It's just infuriating because both of those games were there for them to win, and they just yucked it right back up. They could be 3-1 at worst. They should be 4-0 going into the bye. And those are wins that are going to be a lot harder to get back in the second half of the schedule when you got to go on the road in your division, when you got to play Lamar Jackson. All the Ravens look poopy. But then again, it's September. What do we really know about any of these teams? 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. How about you?
Good. So, a couple things real quick. I'll try to be quick. So if you hang 40 on a team, if you didn't watch the game, and somebody just came up and told you, hey, Packers hung 40 on them, but we lost, what was the first thing you'd say? You'd say defense didn't show up. Yeah. And that's pretty much what didn't happen, right? So, but to the special teams point, so last week in Cleveland, when you and I talked about it a little bit, okay, so now we got this, the part that they got missed was their best kick blocker, right? Up the middle.
Yeah.
And this particular one, like when I saw it in real time, I didn't go back and rewatch it, but when I saw it, that guy came off the edge unblocked.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you miss that
It's
guy?
not like someone timed up a great leap. It was just they missed him. They missed the assignment.
So here's my thing too, is why we're seeing this across the league. And this is because you had mentioned it, like this is happening everywhere. And I'm like, in baseball, they call it pop time, right? Catcher to second.
Yep.
I think this is a thing with kickers. Like McManus does not have great pop time coming off the kick. So like from snap to hold, right? It's quick. It's there. But McManus is a little bit slower to the kick. Boot time. Let's call it boot time. I don't know what the NFL calls it, but let's call it boot time. So if there's kickers that take a little bit longer, so if it's an extra point, it doesn't matter if it's a 50-yarder or an extra point kick. Kickers are notorious for having a very set routine. They treat them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something where the Packers might need to look at McManus and say, like, hey, you need to be a little quicker to the ball, because I think that's how he got there. It's just McManus took a little bit.
Maybe.
Like,
the guy jailbroke right through the line, though, Jeremy.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just get there and kick it.
He jailbroke up the middle. If the kick took so long where the guy got around the edge and jumped in front of it, then yeah, I could entertain this. But when the guy comes untouched right up the middle, I don't know that that's on the kicker to get it away faster.
Oh, absolutely. And the Cleveland one, they knew that guy. That guy absolutely has a record for blocking kicks and field goals. And they they didn't have an answer for him. They didn't. That's where they're at.
Well, it's clear they don't have an answer. It's clear to Rich Bisaccia, Jeremy, I appreciate it. It's clear that Rich Bisaccia, like so many of these special teams things that other teams are doing is just witchcraft. The idea of putting the ball like in the landing zone, but before the end zone, and all these little details that other coaching staffs are figuring out and developing, right? Concepts to find advantages and edges here and there. It's clear that Rich is like, what is going on? Where is this all coming from? Who, like, I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does. And to everyone, fire Rich Bisaccia, fire Rich. No. I'm past that. There's no magical special teams coordinator. I don't want Rich Bisaccia fired. I want him to be better at his job. I want him to figure it out. That's what I want. I don't want him to be fired so we can all feel better about ourselves. I want him to not suck and blow at his job. And you might say, well, Grant, remember, he's not just the special teams coordinator. He's also the assistant head coach. And I saw pictures of him and Matt LaFleur having a little powwow on the sideline in the closing minutes of overtime. So whatever he's doing as an assistant head coach, he sucks ass at that too. So again, how's he spending his time? How's he spending his week? What's he doing? Like when HR calls you in and it's like, all right, I'm looking at your time card here. What are you between 2 and 6 on Monday through Friday? You just write prep. What does that mean, Grant? Well, I'm researching for the show, and cutting sound. You can't underestimate how much time that takes, and booking guests. I gotta text people 4 hours just prep, huh? Rich Bisaccia, what are you doing? 2 to 6 here? I see study film. What are you studying? What is he doing? What is he actually doing? And again, I don't want him fired. I'm past that. I'm over that. We're past the point of rescue there. I'm out on that. I just want him to not suck ass at his job. That's where I'm at. And I think that's a reasonable ask. I'm not asking for anyone to lose their job, their livelihood. I just want you to not stink at your job. It's a very, very reasonable ask. I'm nothing if not reasonable. You've listened to the show long enough to know that. All right, one more call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Tough Monday morning here.
What do you say?
Tough Monday morning.
Not great.
What are you going to do?
Better than a loss,
like
I guess.
It's like kissing your sister.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
That is what they say. The person who originally came up with that statement, by the way, did everyone like look at him and be like, how do you like, was there some questioning when that statement, that guy thought he cooked. He's like, yeah, it's just like kissing your sister. And everyone, like, do you think people looked at him and was like, have you done that? Can you speak from experience there? I was thinking about that earlier today.
Well, we all stem from Adam and Eve. So
That's
at
true.
some point, we're all brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, Cone. You're absolutely right about that. Good point.
Amen. Also, one more complaint on Rich Bisaccia. It seems like all these teams are kind of doing a new kickoff strategy to pin the team at the 20 instead of the 35 or 40.
Mm-hmm.
And did the Packers just refuse to accept that that's a good strategy? Because I haven't seen even one attempt at trying to do that.
I think they're just out there winging it. I just think they're out there. They're just doing their best. I don't think they're thinking about it that clearly. Or if they are, they're executing very poorly, which is arguably just as bad.
Yeah, and I do got to give McManus some credit. He laid out on that one block and hurt his back, it looked like, and then went in there to kick the game-time field goal. So, credit to McManus. He's doing what he can. He's getting put in these positions and he's executing. But man, just so many times they could have won that game last night, it seems. And this morning I'm left confused. I don't know who to be mad at the most. And as sports radio fans and Packer fans, that's what we thrive on these Mondays.
Blame pie? Do you have a blame pie? Have you even thought about a blame pie?
Blame pie? Grant, I'm confused looking at the recipe.
I know LaFleur's somewhere near the top. Well, here's the thing. It would be a very easy show for me to come in today, Cone, and say, well, Rich Bisaccia, if they block that field goal, they win the game. There we go. Like, we could turn the mic off. We'd be done. I just, at this point, I'm past expecting Bisaccia's special teams to be great. And they had so many of opportunities to win after that moment where I have a hard time saying, well, special teams cost him a game. Yeah, but sometimes one side of the ball or the other isn't going to be perfect, and the other sides of the ball had lots of opportunities to make up for it.
Absolutely, and I haven't heard Jeff Hafley being mentioned. I mean, if this was a Joe Barry coach team, he'd be having it today.
The Joe Barry comparisons were out and about. Cone, I appreciate it. Before we get to the defense, and I will, because I have a take on what happened to the Packers defense. One more thing on the special teams. So it's clear Matthew Golden is not comfortable as a punt returner. He's just not seeing the ball. He's letting it bounce when he shouldn't. He's trying to return it when he shouldn't, which is Amari Rodgers 2.0. Like he's not seeing it. Okay. So their response to that is to stick Romeo Doubs back there. Huh? Like, there's no better plan B. There's nothing better than sticking your number one wide receiver back. Like, that's the button that Rich Bisaccia had to push. That's unacceptable. And frankly, a little embarrassing. Oh, our wide receiver one, who's super important to the team, who has concussion issues. Yeah, have him do it. Like, that would be, imagine if that took place at your place of work. Like, you know, we have a nice little group of coworkers here. We have Ebo in the morning and Kate and Austin and Zach, and I'm here in the afternoon producing Bill, and then I do the evening drive show. Let's say that we needed someone to come in on Sunday morning and read the weather. An important job, but, you know, simple enough. You should be able to make that work. Imagine if my boss is like, hey, I figured out how we're going to handle the weekend weather reports. We're going to have Bill Michaels drive in and do it. Bill Michaels, who lives in Waukesha, Brookfield, we're just going to have him come in on Monday morning and do it. We're just going to have him come in for the hour and read the weather. We're just going to pay Bill to do that. I'd be like, that's the stupidest use of manpower. And you're my butt. That's what you came up with. We need someone to read the weather for an hour on Sunday morning, and you're going to bring in Bill? That'd be stupid. It's like, well, Matthew Golden, he's progressing. No, he's not. He's regressing. I've seen this movie before, again, with Amari Rodgers. So Rich Bisaccia's brilliant secondary plan was to stick Romeo Doubs back there. Again, not acceptable and a little embarrassing. Like, that's what you've cooked up. That's just horrible. 608-321-1670. One more call here, and then we'll take a break. And then I want to talk about the defense on the other side. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
Louie, what's up?
Hey, Grant. There was a lot to digest after last night's game. What bothered me the most was, say what you want about LaFleur's strategy at both the end of the first half and in overtime. In my opinion, much too conservative. But he's a coach. If that's what he's going to decide, okay. But then the execution was terrible as well, where we were 1/2 perilous second away from not even getting a kick off.
Or a shot at the end zone. Like Louie, if the clock runs out because you're actually trying to get the ball in the end zone, I would be annoyed, but I'd at least be okay with that. They almost lost the game without ever even actually trying to win it.
They got the ball with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go, timeouts, and if that was a basketball clock with digits, it would have been like 0.2 because it was hanging there for a while.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, this is almost going to get to 0. So say what you want about the strategy, it's the execution. And that kind of leads me to kind of what Cone was saying there. Bisaccia, not only are our kicks getting blocked, then with like the kick there, the Packers are flummoxed by this whole landing zone deal. And the Cowboys are getting the ball out to the 45-yard line every time.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Packers returners are letting it bounce in the landing zone and then kneeling it, getting it to 20. Do the returners not know, hey, if it bounces, why don't you return it or know the rules? I don't particularly like the rules of the kickoff, but you got to know them and try to execute.
There's some situations I see where I'm like, I don't know that they know the rules. Like, I don't know they have a full grasp on what's going on here. Like Matt LaFleur, they did know that if they score a touchdown, the game's over and they win, right? Like, I think they knew that, but they were kind of operating like, well, we don't want to score too fast here because Brandon Aubrey can hit it. Well, Matthew, coach, if I may, if you score a touchdown, the game's over. So there were moments where I'm like, are you guys sure you know the rules? Like, I didn't really know the rules all that well, but I'm not paid to know the rules. I just talk on the radio about it the next day after I read what I need to read. So a little different. Yeah, but I get it, Louie. I get it completely.
Because if you keep on doing those 8-yard tosses to Wilson, which they were doing at the end, if you keep on doing that, eventually you're going to win the game, and you're not going to have to worry about Brandon Aubrey. I thought the same thing when they didn't go for it on 4th and 2 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He's scared of Brandon Aubrey kicking some 65-yard field goal. Listen, he's a weapon, but if you're going to scheme your whole plan around the Cowboys kicker, you're not going to win, or and you're going to lose.
You can't make your decisions based on, especially in the first quarter, Louis. I appreciate the call. You can't base your entire strategy on the Cowboys kicker. Well, at least in those two situations, for sure. Go score a touchdown. The game's over. You can score in one play. Run no huddle if you want. What difference does it make? Go score a touchdown and win. That should overwhelmingly have been the issue. And I think that, I honestly think that was their goal. I think they did a horrible job executing it. I don't think Matt LaFleur was playing for the tie. I think he was trying to play for the win, and he did a crappy job, which, again, might even be worse. The Monday mailbag in about a half hour. Submit your questions, grantbills21@gmail.com. At the bottom of this hour at 5:35, maybe I'll give you a baseball thought as the season concluded yesterday. But one more segment for your Packers calls. Now I want to talk about the defense, too.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I got a baseball thought for you. We'll also get to the Monday mailbag at the end of the show. GrantBills21@gmail.com. More time for your Packers phone calls. In the meantime, and I'll get back to you here in a minute, 608-321-1670 on the defense, because we can't just rip Matt LaFleur and rip Jordan Love and the special teams, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, this vaunted Packers defense, which had been so good through 3 weeks, gave up 40 to a team that was missing an O-lineman, to a team that was missing CeeDee Lamb. They don't exactly have a prolific running game or a prolific back. George Pickens is nice, and I like Jake Ferguson, but the way this Packers defense has been playing, right, you expected a lot better result than that last night. Honestly, Dak Prescott was really good. I think Dak is good. I think Dak is very, 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 very good. He is not in the Burrow, Lamar, Allen, Mahomes tier. And I would probably put him a little bit under Herbert, although Herbert has accomplished about the same in the postseason as Dak, which is to say very little. Baker, Love, he's in that next tier. And those guys are liable to have a stinky game at any point or a down season. Dak has missed some time due to injury, which is probably a bigger knock on him than most people would say right now. And he hasn't been good in the playoffs. But plenty of tier 2, tier 3 quarterbacks haven't been good in the playoffs. And better to have made it and performed poorly than to have never made it at all. And a couple years ago, he was actually pretty close to maybe being the MVP. I thought Dak was unbelievable last night. The ball came out quickly. But then there were also some instances where the ball didn't come out right away and Dak had pressure in his face and he sidestepped it. He bought just an additional second, half second, moved left, moved right to dodge the swinging arm of Parsons or Van Ness or Gary, and then delivered a big nuts throw. Dak was really good last night. And another thing, I know everybody just labeled Marty, is it Brian Schottenheimer? Marty was his dad, right? I know everybody labeled Brian Schottenheimer is a moron and an idiot the second he was hired. I actually think they've had some pretty good game plans throughout the first few weeks. They acquitted themselves very nicely against the Eagles, and if not for that weather delay, that game might come down to the wire. They might have even won. They scored a lot of points on the Bears. Their defense couldn't get a stop, but they scored. We have plenty of evidence that the Cowboys are very capable of putting together and executing a good game plan, and we have plenty of evidence over the years that Dak is really good. I also think the universe was on the Cowboys side a little bit last night. Thought there were some penalties that probably should have been called. You know, people love to pull the tape with the holding and Micah Parsons. Well, he's held on every play. Hey, newsflash, this hasn't been a problem for the Packers in 15 years because Rashawn Gary does not fit. Nick Perry never fit in this bucket. Good passers like Micah Parsons are held on almost every play. It's the nature of how it works. Shaq, Giannis, those guys are fouled on almost every play. That's how it works. So let me save you all some time and energy and angst and just say, don't go back and pull the clips. No need to find the screenshot. Yes, Micah Parsons is held a lot, and he's not going to get called for it every time. It's how it works. Dak Prescott was allowed to just throw the ball away to nobody without a grounding penalty. I think the universe, the officials, the energy in the building, the way that the Cowboys have been taking slings and arrows and been making fun of, and everyone thought they had no chance, and the Packers were supposed to blow doors. Like, I think last night, the Cowboys played out over their skis. Dak played as well as I've seen any quarterback play this year. And the Packers still should have won. Now, the Packers defense, I don't think had a great game plan. They were a little passive, and they let Dak complete passes underneath. I think they got tired by the end of the game. They were a little bit beat up. They lost Wyatt, which is a big deal. And I also think, you guys, that elite defenses have bad weeks. It happens. Even the best defenses sometimes go up against an offense that's just feeling itself. And sometimes you don't have an answer. That's the nature of defense, both in basketball and in football. If they execute on special teams and offense, they still win, which is the idea. You build an elite defense and still want a good offense, so when one part of the ball isn't working so hot, the other part can still win a game, and that's been true of each of the last weeks. And no dice. They're 0-2 or 0-1 in those games. 608-321-1670. 2 calls here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Ron from Madison.
Hey, what's going on, Ron?
Last drive, I was talking to TV. I was almost yelling. They got around to the 12-yard line and says, okay, timeout, 32 seconds left. 3 or 4 shots in the end zone.
Yeah.
Do not throw the ball short of the end. Get the ball in the end zone, win and go home.
Or Ron, they had a timeout remaining, so if they complete a pass down to the 2, okay, sure, like that's fine. But you're not throwing it behind the line of scrimmage. Are you nuts?
Yeah, if this team doesn't do anything this year, it'll be a wasted year. On both sides of the ball, this team has too much talent.
I agree.
I know they need to fix things and clean things up, but man, the coach this team, they're good. And so I put that on the coaches and LaFleur.
I do too. And LaFleur is the head coach, right? It all falls under his umbrella. I think Hafley didn't exactly coach his best game, and Bisaccia, he didn't coach he hasn't coached a good game in his life. But I think a lot of it falls on coaching, Ron. I appreciate the call. It's a good call. And again, to re-highlight that final sequence, because this is what we talked about back at 4. So if you've joined the show since then, the Packers had the ball on the Cowboys 12 with a timeout. And they got one shot at the end zone, and it was kind of a clown car half-ass shot. They burned a timeout after losing 3 yards. Then they let 22 seconds run after losing another yard. It's like, what are you doing? It's out of bounds or end zone, but even on that 1st and 10 play with 32 seconds left, if you complete a pass down to the 4, all right, that's fine. Then you take your timeout, and now you can execute your end zone shots. But not behind the line of scrimmage. Are you nuts? And Jordan Love's got to know a little bit better, but Matt LaFleur, like on the Kirk Cousins thing, like if you know he's going to take the check down, don't give him the check down. Jordan Love loves pushing the ball down the field. So just take that back out of the equation. Use him in pass pro. Use him as a decoy, whatever. Just take that off of the play sheet. I don't know, really frustrating. So thank you, Ron, for circling back to that, because that's what we talked about to begin the show, and we hadn't really circled back. All right, one more call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Eric.
What's going on, Eric? It was nice to see you at Flipside on Friday. Thank you for coming for the shows.
Hey, it was really nice to see you too, Grant. You know, this that Packer game last night, you know, and you said it was kind of the stars were aligned for Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say that's like 100% true. That one throw late in the game, where I mean he was going to go down, and Dak just flung it, and the guy came back. Yep. That's when you know you got. I mean, it was a throw that only Jordan Love could make, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all luck. The Packer defender was just standing there, didn't think there was no way in hell he's going to catch it.
Kind of gave up on the play. Yeah.
So he did, but you know, I didn't know this about Dallas, is that they're a pretty high scoring offense. I didn't know this at all.
Well, you wouldn't, because they only get made fun of for the Micah trade, and everyone thinks their coach is a moron, despite he never got a chance. Everyone just declared him stupid and bad before he ever even coached a game, and they've been okay this year.
I'm kind of blaming you guys, because you guys just rail on their owner so bad, and he deserves it. But listen, I didn't know this, and it's my fault for not knowing it, because I had fantasy football problems in that game. So, but I was impressed with Dak Prescott. I was impressed with Jordan Love too.
Yeah.
You can't really blame the game on him. You know, I don't know if Micah Parsons willed his way to tackling Dak, so I think he just can run faster.
Well,
you know, it's right. I mean, we always get a little bit too whacked out on that. He willed his way. No, he just can run faster than him. And he's getting paid to tackle him.
Well, that's why you go get a player who's that athletic and that fast. Yeah. Which is what Micah Parsons said after the game. He's like, no, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing a post-game interview. That's why I got that contract, is to make plays like that, which I like.
Right. But that tie business, that can end up really dragging out, because it'll get to the seeding, you know, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year. I mean, you can be like, oh my God, that tie, oof, stop. Anyway, oof, stop. And the Vikings, can we stop? There's been some kind of popular talk that the Vikings are ready to compete this year. That's not true. That's not true. All right. Put the kid in and let him take his lumps. That's what I say.
Interesting. Well, the Vikings are in a tough spot because, Eric, I appreciate it. Your roster's ready to go, and your coaching staff's ready to go. So it's pretty tough to all those veterans. You got a lot of veterans on that team to just say, hey, we're going to, rock with the kid. Now, if Carson Wentz looks like that again, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like, are they really going to fight? No, don't take Carson Wentz out. It's like, well, he kind of sucked. Oh, breaking news. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban split up. That's crushing. That's a bummer. Well, they had a good 20-year run. I just saw the Hollywood Reporter tweet out of the corner of my eye. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I'll give you a baseball thought. If you have any stragglers, I'll get to the text line too, because I haven't got to that yet. So some final Packers takes, a baseball thought, and then the Monday mailbag to conclude the show. So get your emails in, grantbills21@gmail.com.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Excuse me. I'm just hammering down a delicious Wenzel's Farm snack stick. 16 grams of protein, naturally smoked in Wisconsin. Got hundreds of them things in Ebo's office. I stop over there once or twice a day. Give myself a little protein. By the way, the Zone Blitz pregame bash back this Saturday. And I people fired up for the Michigan game. We can be fired up. I'll be fired up for the tailgate. Sure. I'll stop over the Blue Moon, but the game itself feels like might be a bubble. Badgers news, by the way, Kirk Penny's leaving the program. Be closer to family. He's going to go coach in New Zealand. But Brad Davison will now join the Badgers staff as a special assistant to Greg Gard, which we love. and teach those kids to play the right way. We can get back into that maybe in the coming days. I should have asked Cone about that, but a little bit of a green and gold Monday. That being said, well, actually, I'll get to some of your Packers texts first. 608-321-1670. This text is John in La Crosse. So I have to agree with you. It was all on Matt LaFleur. I was hoping that Matt would be fired, and then I woke up this morning. Well, that's a little strong. Steve from Monona says Packers were lucky the clock stopped at 1 last night to kick the game time field goal. Wenzel Farm snack stick. Aftershock. Or we would be having a totally different conversation today if that happened. I can't defend LaFleur anymore. I just don't think he's the right coach for the Packers, and Ed Policy knows it. That's why he wasn't giving a coaching extension. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like speculating too hard about what's going on with Ed Policy. I would always bet on stability and consistency there. I don't think they're looking to fire anyone. But you can give him an extension. Could have extended him. Could have easily done it. Didn't. So I can't argue with you. It's just I don't really have much interesting to say on that. Mike in Middleton says, hey, Grant, well, if the Packers don't practice special teams in situations during practice, what the hell are special teams coaches actually doing during said practice? This is what I'm wondering. What does he do all week? I don't know. I wish I could answer that, Mike in Middleton. I wish I could. I can't. Rockin' Rick says, I'm only ticked at me. I let myself get so fired up about the crew, and after Detroit and the Pack over the last 3 weeks, I'm slowly deflating. Well, don't deflate, Rockin' Rick. Go into the bye, maybe get Aaron Banks healthy, get another quarter or two out of him before he gets hurt again. Zach Tom, I don't know, might be a little bit longer. This team still has a lot of talent. That's one thing that I want to make clear. I'm not trying to polish a dog turd here. I don't feel any worse about their talent after these last 2 losses. I feel worse about their ability to execute. I feel worse about their maturity, maybe. I think the talent is right there, and you can grow up and you can execute at a higher level over the course of a season. You can't necessarily get more talented, and I don't think the Packers have a talent issue. Gordon and La Crosse, no one wants to see someone lose their job, but the Packers represent Titletown, and Rich Bisaccia hasn't lived up to the potential, and he's been the assistant head coach since 2023 and on the team since 22. I could argue special teams have gotten worse since he's been here. Feels like it. Yeah, that's true. AJ in Janesville, Bisaccia is a failure in every public-facing sense. He's probably a great guy to have in the room and probably a resource for Matt LaFleur in a professional sense. Again, if he is a resource on the sideline, he's a crappy resource. But the results aren't there. And in this business, when the results aren't there, you have to make changes. Also, the Packers have kicks blocked at an alarming rate. Lots of other blocks this year. Why? Why aren't the Packers any blocking kicks? There's a good question. If it's so easy and nobody knows how to block a kick, then why can't the Packers block one? Great question, AJ. Maybe we can put a pin in that and get back to that tomorrow. This one says they gave Matt the keys to a Lambo and he drove it off the end like a Volvo. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Again, we're nitpicking Matt LaFleur, and he deserves to be nitpicked today. If they just block a friggin' kick for the second straight week, we're talking about a team that's 4-0 or at least 3-1. Let's take a call here, and then I have a baseball thought for you. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner, Mark. How we doing?
Ridge Runner, I thought that might be you. A late 5 o'clock. I love the cadence of your calls. What's going on?
So one thing I wanted to point out and just talk about with the Packer game, because holy crap, very frustrating. I had to get on the treadmill and walk for the last 5 minutes just to burn off the adrenaline.
Okay.
Before the last throw that Love made, he was calling the play at the line, but he kept looking to the left side of the line. Like, he called the play with his hands, like he put them together, like twice. Like, no one was actually paying attention to him. I'm like, dude, do it once and get to the line. And so it's also on the players around him not giving him the signal, like, yes, we have the play. Let's go. Let's do it. So I think that's age and nervousness. And I'm sure a lot of people have said something similar or not, but it's game 4. I'd be way more concerned if this was something happening at like game 15, when we've had a year's worth of season where you should have shaked this out. You should have figured this out way longer. Now we can go back into like, this is the trend that LaFleur has shown over the last 2 or 3 years, but I'm not going to get too high or too low on this. I'm frustrated in the moment, but it's game 4. We'll see how they come out of the bye. I don't know historically how good LaFleur is coming out of a bye, if he's got a bad record with that or not, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, it's game 4. Everyone take a deep breath, drink some water, and it'll be okay.
I think it can be okay. I think there's a chance that it's okay. I think everything that was on the board 2 weeks ago can still be on the board. I'm not going to say it will be okay, Ridge Runner. We'll trust it'll be okay. I don't know that. I don't think Matt LaFleur historically has been great off a bye. I'll try to get that number at some point this week. We'll stick Mike Clemens on that case if I'm not able to find it. Shocking. Google AI. I know we're building data centers everywhere. You think it would be getting better. It's just a horrible. I looked up what's Matt LaFleur's record after the bye. And I got the record of post-bye. That's not what I wanted. I wanted the record of directly after the bye. They've not fared well on the road recently. They lost to the Denver Broncos, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020, and the Niners in 2019, which I remember correctly. It does not account for 2024 or 2022 or 2021, but I mean, it's just AI. It's not like we're slowly killing our planet so we can, generate images that nobody ever needed or asked for, whatever. Maybe we can talk about that more in the mailbag if you have AI questions. On the Brewers and baseball really quickly, I, for one, am overjoyed that the Mets missed the playoffs. Not necessarily because the Mets knocked the Brewers out of the playoffs last year, although screw them. Why not? Like, that's extra icing on the cake. I am kind of happy, I'll admit, that David Stearns has not just stepped into that role with his unlimited bajillion-dollar budget and just succeeded at the highest level. Because I think that Wisconsin media, on balance, completely lets David Stearns off the hook for how this thing ended in Milwaukee. He was not good his final 2 years here. He made an awful trade, and I know everybody is convinced that David Stearns traded Josh Hader because Mark Ignacio came down from his office and said, he's too expensive. You got to trade him. That's not what happened. David Stearns made that move. It was his move. He thought it was a good move. He did it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. He is wearing it. He was not scapegoated. Now, Mark Ignacio made it pretty clear that, it was David, but he didn't lie and say it's David. It was David. And when the media, which I would wager, love him, is pretty friendly in Milwaukee, said, hey, David, so, what's the deal with that trade you made? And he quiet quit for a year and sat up in his office and wasn't really around the team and just waited out his contract and eventually went to the Mets. So, no, screw David Stearns. We had some good years here, but it ended horribly, and he kind of threw a tantrum at the end and quit because he made one bad trade, and everyone was like, hey, what was the deal with that trade? And David Stearns was like, stop being mean to me. I'm going into hiding, and I'll go to the Mets next year. And then I'll spend a bunch of money on a bunch of guys who can't play. So screw the Mets. And screw David Stearns a little bit. Not all. He had some good years in Milwaukee, but at the end, and everyone lets him off the hook for that. Well, he should get to go work for the Mets. He should get... Sure, yeah. All right. I'm glad he gets to live out his dream while the Brewers, again, are losing in the first round of the playoffs. Happy for David Stearns. No one else in Wisconsin media points it out, but then again, why are we surprised? 3 minutes, we'll take a break. GrantBills21@gmail.com. The Monday mailbag. We'll crack that thing open when we come back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Because the mail never stops.
Charles, we'll be writing to you.
She's got mail. That's the name of the
That's it, honey.
There's never a let-up. It's relentless. Every day it piles up more and more and more. You got to get it up. And the more you get up, the more it keeps coming in.
The Monday Mailbag. Your questions, always considered, almost always answered. GrantBills21@gmail.com is the email inbox if you would like to submit your question. One that was rolled over from last week, and I apologize for missing this. This is from Chris. It says, my main takeaway, well, actually, this is over the weekend, so just a couple days old. My main takeaway from this Penn State-Oregon game is that Wisconsin will likely pursue a full-scale bidding war with Penn State over Mike McCarthy's services. Like has been often said of nuclear war, however, there are no winners in this form of contest. Chris, there's no question. It's just a funny email. I wanted to read it. Alex today says, again, not a question, but a comment that's worth discussing. I have a very unpopular opinion. Collinsworth is my favorite analyst, but last night he was too much for me. Brandon Aubrey is good, but he's not the second coming of Christ. People often complain about this. Vikings fans complain, oh, Chris Collinsworth would always go nuts for Aaron Rodgers. And now people say the same. He goes nuts for Patrick Mahomes, this guy. I guess my question to those complaints, do you just want him to say everybody sucks? Do you not want an analyst that's celebrating the best player or best players at their positions in the sport? Ooh, do you want a guy that doesn't get fired up? Do you want a guy that doesn't get excited over, like, what's the alternative? And I very rarely watch Sunday Night Football and am dialed. Are you guys really listening this closely? I watched the game on mute last night. I was at the Sylvie with Kate. We were watching a concert. There's nobody else in the suite. It was actually pretty baller. We're just sitting up at the table, watching a concert going down beneath the rail. We're watching the game. Like, all of the analysts are pretty good. I have ones that I like a little bit more than others. They're all pretty good. As always, my message on commentators is to not, of all the things in the world that we have to stress over, don't let football announcers be one. Kevin and Tyler both ask a very similar question. I'm glad this was broached. Both something along the lines of, Kevin asks, are you a Super Bowl halftime show guy? Are you pumped about Bad Bunny? Tyler similarly asked, what are your thoughts on Bad Bunny heading into the Super Bowl halftime show? I don't know any Bad Bunny songs. I am aware that he is an absolutely massive global artist whose streams dwarf even like Taylor Swift and some of the biggest American. Like, he's a huge deal. I think it'll be fun. Am I a Super Bowl halftime show? I don't even know what that means. As I was talking about with Ebo earlier today, like, if you're a big country music person, you're like, why don't they have Morgan Wallen, or I don't know, why don't they have Luke Combs or whoever? If you like country music, go to a country concert. This is a 15-minute television thing that's meant to be on so we have something to talk about. That's all it is. So if you're like, wow, they have a country concert, just get a ticket to Garth Brooks at Summerfest next year and go and actually enjoy it, because it's a concert and not some thing that's on TV. That's what I would recommend. Bad Bunny, who cares? They're all big stars. They're all entertaining. I will say, like, is Roger Goodell a globalist? Is he prioritizing the worldwide market over the United States market? In this booking, is he concerned more about trying to drum up money in South America and in Europe than he is in America? 608-321-1670. Is he a globalist? We can circle back to that tomorrow. Coyote Mike emails in and says, "Hey, Grant, guess we have something in common. Got my very first cast this afternoon. Tripped and fell in the dark and glaring rainy last night. Well, Tuesday walking the dogs. Spiral fracture in my right hand, 3 weeks at least. How's your foot feeling these days?" Mostly fine, but like I guess it's just a thing. It's just a thing. I'm too active. I can't. We'll just stay off it for 3 weeks. Yeah, well, why don't I just smother myself? Why don't I just do that? I'll do that thing. It's mostly fine. You get a little achy here and there. I don't think it's re-broken or anything like that. It's just, I just can't believe I just got to deal with this until I die. Do you know how many things there are in my life where it's like, I'm really just going to have to deal with this until I die? I'm really going to have to go get groceries every week until I die. I'm really going to have to pay rent every month until I just die. Like this is how it works, I guess. So sorry about your hand, Mike. They don't often do casts anymore. You're lucky. You can get people to sign that thing. Walking boot is much less sexy, which maybe, Mike, you're not concerned about. I don't know your marital situation. I know you have kids. Maybe you're separate. I don't know. Maybe you're back out on the market. It's tough to pick up women in a cast. The physical limitations doesn't do it for the ladies. So I'm told. Walking boot. Your foot's fine. It's just, I don't know. I'm just tired of being around sometimes. Anyways, that's the show. By the way, I got a text 100% on David Stearns. Yeah, I don't know why so many Milwaukee and Wisconsin media people let him off the hook. He did a crappy job the last 2 years. He made a bad trade that he then didn't want to talk to anyone about. So he went into hiding for a year as an advisor, was never around the team. And then the media all around Wisconsin gave him blessing to go work for the Mets. He should have been booed out the door. Like, not ruthlessly, but like, why are we so okay being second fiddle? And maybe we never should have been this way with Counsell either. It's like, well, if he wants to go manage it, he should be able to go do that. I mean, we're losers anyways. We've just been lucky to have him for as long as we've had him. No, it's lame. He sucked at the end in Milwaukee. And then he got defensive because he made one bad trade. And the Brewers beat, who I'd say are pretty friendly. They were like, David, what was that about? And he's like, what do you want to know? Like, would you? Loser. I'm glad the Mets aren't in the playoffs. Screw them. And screw capital S David Stearns. We'll pick this up tomorrow. We can circle back, talk more Packers, a little bit more playoff baseball, some other things that maybe didn't go discussed today. Have an excellent night. Thank you.